Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. Today, we are talking about Arcasia's Island cards that are set to break the meta. So, without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey, everyone, welcome to another week. Last week, we had Joe Quigley, a Day 2 NACC competitor and Blurple fan, on to discuss competitive Lorcana. So if you haven't had a chance to go listen to that, he shares a lot of really good insights. Today, James and I are breaking down what we think will be the meta-defining cards of Set 7. So we haven't talked about Set 7 really at all. And here we are at the time of this recording. And as of today, we have all the cards revealed. We got our first drip of enchanted cards. And James, aren't the enchanted cards lovely to set?
They are. I really like them. They're very colorful. They have a really unique style. I enjoy the fact that they are continuing to have themed enchanteds, and I really like this set's theme.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The artwork is just they nailed it. I mean, I liked what they did for this set. You know, it was like pirate themed and pirate maps, but I'm a sucker for color. I love
Yeah.
good colors, vibrant colors, and this one has it. So, yeah, so instead of talking about every single card, we want to talk about the cards that we think will help shape the meta. And I mean, you can tell that I wrote this outline before all the cards dropped because I have here, James, if there's one card that everyone is talking about, it is Sapphire Coil, which I mean, they still are. We're gonna bring it up. We're gonna talk about this. Um, but there's a new sheriff in town as far as what people are talking about.
Yeah. And the Sapphire Coil goes along with it, but this card is so uh talked about that they actually brought it up on the Discord live stream that official Lorcana did on Monday morning and had Steve on there explaining why the card is not broken.
I know. I thought that was hilarious.
It's like, explain yourself, Steve.
It's a good thing Bell wasn't released at that point. Okay, so here we are, the Sapphire Coil, 2 cost inkable. Of course, it's in Sapphire, but it has this ability during your turn. Whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may give a chosen character -2 strength this turn. James, why is this card the talk? Why was this card the talk of the internets?
Well, basically, it's because it's a more powerful ice block. And ice block, of course, is the card that everyone in Ruby Sapphire was using to be able to banish so many characters using Big Sisu, Little Sisu, and Medusa to get their strength under the correct amount or to challenge into them and take less damage. And it's a very powerful card. And now you have one that is going to be used with, first of all, it's inkable instead of uninkable like the ice block. Second, it does cost one more, but in Ruby Sapphire, that's usually not too big of a deal. And it goes -2 strength instead of -1 strength, which is a pretty big deal, right?
Oh yeah.
So, as I mentioned, Steve was shown this card and said, "Explain yourself" on the Discord live stream on Monday morning this week. And the way that he explained it is they did extensive testing with this. They feel that it's not overpowered because one, it's cost one more, which again, probably the slightest of reasons why it's not overpowered. But he also said that at a certain point, you don't want to be putting cards into your inkwell, and that's the only way to activate this. So maybe as the game goes on, this version of strength reduction becomes less useful. But unfortunately, I think that it's going to continue to be useful no matter what, because at any given point, if you have one of these out, or two or three, you just need to ink once to take advantage of that -2 or three times. That is very powerful.
And honestly, you only need to clear your opponent's board once or twice before you control the game.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
Yeah, I
so
mean, I remember him saying, you know, cost 2, is this really what you want to play on turn 2? And no, you probably don't want to play this on turn two. But I mean, Ruby Sapphire, which is where this card is going to go, they can go up to like 16 ink. They don't care. If you play
Yeah.
this down when you have 8 ink in the inkwell, you play down, you ink another card, and boom, you can drop down Sisu or whatever you want. So,
And this set was the Sapphire Ruby is very item heavy in how it's working. And there are now cards that reduce costs. There's more cards that reduce costs of playing items. And so there's plenty of ways to get this out cheaper for free. I mean, it's crazy how this is going to be very useful. I mean, come on. It's going to be
yeah,
inkable. Come on, it's inkable.
I know. Like the other the other
The other
coils,
coils are not.
no, they're not, and they're not nearly as useful as this.
Right.
So, but who knows?
Who knows?
Should we keep talking about this, or you wanna move on to the next one?
Let's actually. Do you want to talk about the reason why this now is even more broken with the bell? Let's just go right there because I think the bell is actually going to be the most uh, meta shaking card that may be out there.
I
Uh,
think you're absolutely right. For this being a freaking common,
and I'm not sure if it should be in there. There it is. So this is the Apprentice Inventor. It's a 3-cost inkable 3/3 with 1 lore and the ability What a Mess. During your turn, you may banish chosen item of yours to play this character for free. This is and awesome art, of course, by Joachim Van Gool, who did the Rapunzel, the first chapter Rapunzel card that everybody loves. But anyway, this card's broken. I mean, honestly, this thing is so powerful. And what this does is it allows you to play a 1-cost item like Popsicle, let's say, and then you can immediately banish it to play this character for free on turn one. And you now have a 3-cost 3/3 on turn one that can on turn two quest, challenge, or sing a 3-cost song. This card is going to work in both Blue Steel and Ruby Sapphire. It's crazy. It's really
I
crazy.
I legit had somebody on Twitter DM me. He's like, help me understand the hype behind this card. He's like, it doesn't seem that good for me. And I was like, if you thought Cinderella Ballroom Sensation was a good card, being able to sing a 3-cost song, if you thought Madam M Snake was a good card to come out on turn two, this card is those cards but better. Like it's just value, especially like you said, Ruby Sapphire, but also Ruby still play down the Fortisphere, draw a card, banish it. Now Belle can sing Let the Storm Rage On or Strength of Raging Fire and just clear your board because there aren't a lot of cards coming down on turn one that have
Yeah,
strength or willpower greater than 2.
yeah. And the ultimate move in Ruby Sapphire is going to be using the item Unconventional Tool,
Yeah.
which is a 1-cost inkable Ruby item that has the ability Fixed in No Time. When this item is banished, you may pay 2 less for the next item you play this turn.
So much
So,
value.
so much value because you can play Unconventional Tool on turn one. You can then play the bell to banish this item and then play the Sapphire Coil for free. And on turn one, you have 5 ink of resources for 1 cost.
Yeah.
And I don't see how that is not considered to be an overpowered move in the game because now that cost reduction is available to you immediately starting on turn two. As soon as you ink like normal on turn two, that bell now takes less damage on a challenge if they need to challenge. Um, so the bell now lasts as long as you need it to. And if you have a popsicle, you can continue using the bell and maybe heal it if needed. If you don't have any other cards in your hand that are going to be useful, if you kind of brick, but if you have just these 3 cards to start, I think you're going to control the beginning of the game,
Yeah.
almost guaranteed.
It's, I mean, again, it's one of those things where you have to have all the cards in your hand. So it's probably not going to happen. But even still, just getting that bell out on turn one it's huge.
Yeah, and it's they're all of the pieces are inkable.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you run four of them to give yourself the best chance of getting them?
Yeah. Yep.
And even
And
then, you're going to be running popsicles. You're going to be running other uh, one or two cost items, most likely. So
yeah.
you're going to get an item in your opening hand to be able to put that bell into play, almost guaranteed. And you're going to mulligan for it too, which because that's your opening play.
And to have a three strength, three willpower character out on turn one,
On turn one,
that is so good.
the other two powerful turn one plays, as you mentioned, is Cinderella, Ballroom Sensation. She's a 1/2 on turn one that can sing three, which is of course everyone knows is very powerful. But the other one is when you can shift the Diablo on turn one by playing down the one cost Diablo and then banishing the action to shift the Diablo on. But that gives you a 2/2 evasive, and you only have one character out. You don't have a 3/3 character out, and you don't have a character or an item out that can also reduce cost of strength like you can in this particular play for the same three cards. It still takes three cards to get the Diablo out, and everyone considers that a very powerful turn one move.
Yep. Yep. It's a great card.
Great card.
Do we want to keep talking about Bell or do we want to go to the
You
next
know
one?
what? I think we've talked enough about it. Everyone has been talking about it so much. All right, so this one I think a lot of people, which there's one of the Enchanteds, and it's
I had to bring it up.
I like how they have shown what the foiling is going to look like, that wave of foiling instead of just the art on the pictures that they're showing off the Enchanteds now. Anyway, that's the Enchanted. The Return of Hercules is a emerald action, 5 cost inkable, with the ability each player may reveal a character from their hand and play it for free. Now, I think a lot of people consider this to be a bad card currently, but I think that in the current meta, someone is going to figure out how to make this work because there are plenty of characters in the 6, 7, 8 cost range that are going to have incredible use for you to get out on turn 5, or if you're playing a Emerald Sapphire, maybe even earlier if you've ramped. And I think that there's a way to make this work. Now, one of the best ones is I thought of this like within seconds of us seeing this card, I thought of a play that would net you a board clear without having to wipe the board, which is on turn 4 you play Chief Bogo, and then on turn 5 you play this, and the card you put down is the 9 cost Prince Philip. It's a Floodborn. Now, the way that Lorcana works with the bag and the order is the way this card reads is each player reveals their card and then plays it. So it's the 9 cost one there. So, um, so if you're playing against one other person, you show them your card that you're going to play. They show you their card. Then you put yours in play. Then they put theirs in play. All abilities on the board in the game state that are going to be triggered, like on this Prince Philip, the Swift and Sure, when you play this character, banish all opposing damaged characters. That goes in the bag. It doesn't activate until both players have played their character.
Yeah.
And because you're the one who's playing it, you're the active player, you can pick stuff out of the bag in the order you want. Chief Bogo's ability is when you play a Floodborn, all opposing characters are dealt 1 damage. So you can play both characters, whatever your opponent plays, and all their other characters on board. Now you can pick out of the bag the Chief Bogo ability, deal 1 damage to everybody, and then take this ability and banish them all
So good.
on turn 5. And now you have a 6/6 evasive 3 lore character in play going forward that your opponent is going to have to deal with somehow, depending on what deck they have. Of course, they're going to have some removal like Lady Tremaine or Be King Undisputed, or in another turn, they're going to have Be Prepared. But this allows you maybe 1 turn of 3 lore questing.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And this is just one of the many things that this card is going to enable to get characters out. It doesn't have to be a massive 9 or 10 strength character. It's like everyone's looking at this like I can finally play Goofy Knight for a day. And it's like, no, you don't need to play a stupid massive card. You can just play a very valuable, good on the play card or something that you just want to get out because of the board state. And your opponent is just going to be stuck with like, what are you going to do? And a lot of people are like, well, your opponent can just play Maleficent Dragon and whatever you play gets banished. But there's multiple cards in Emerald where you can look at what your opponent has, or it's a discard deck and you have negated their hand, you know. But Ursula Deceiver, if you play that on turn 3, you know a lot of what's in their hand.
True.
If you play Diablo, you know what's in their hand. And so it's a safer bet to play this than if you just play it blind in other decks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw this, I saw how it benefited both you and your opponent, and I'm like, I don't know. But the more I think about this, the more excited I am about it because you are operating under the assumption that your opponent even has a bomb card. Like,
Hey,
what if all they do is have a little flounder? Like,
I mean, you're scared, but you're going to do it anyway, right?
right. Um, Um, but this card has so much value for you, and what it does is if your opponent knows that you're playing Emerald, it kind of forces them to have to keep like a Maleficent Dragon in their opening hand because they don't know if this card is coming out or not.
Right. And the thing is it being inkable makes it very useful because if you do know that they have a bunch of bombs in hand, then you just ink this and you go with one of your alternate lines of play.
Wow, an Emerald inkable good card.
Yeah,
They do exist.
they do. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one.
You want to go with one of yours, or you want to do you
I'm
gonna
going
do
to
one?
pull up one of mine here.
Okay.
And this is the one that our good friend Eric revealed over at the Gamer. It's one of these dual ink cards. It's called Ink Geyser. 3 cost, uninkable. It says each player exerts all the cards in their inkwell. Then each player with more than 3 cards in their inkwell returns cards at random from their inkwell to their hand until they have 3 cards in their inkwell. I think, okay, first of all, this is going to be annoying to determine random cards from their inkwell to their hand. Like, that part's going to be annoying. However, I like this card because it brings these decks that like to ramp to their knees. And I know I've heard all the comments saying why this card isn't as good as people say it's going to be and that it's overhyped. But I just think about all those times that I played against Ruby Sapphire or even Blurple or Ruby Amethyst, and they have 20,000 ink and I have 5. If I were to play something like this, that would stop Be Prepared from coming down. I
Yeah.
mean, straight up, your opponent's playing Ruby and they get to 6 ink. Ink Geyser, sorry, you're not gonna play that Be Prepared.
And again, you can look at this as again not a card where you have to worry about the fact that you're removing your ink as well because you're building your deck to take advantage of this. So one of the ways you can do that is to build an aggro Emerald Sapphire deck because a bunch of Emerald and Sapphire characters have decent lore and have ward, including that Alice from last set that gives another character ward. You can just go to the races with lore and ward and play this as soon as your opponent is starting to get pretty high on ink and you get a bunch of characters back that you've inked or other cards. That's the other thing this allows you to do is you can ink cards and put them into your inkwell knowing you're going to get those back on turn 6, maybe turn 7, whenever it may be that you end up playing this card. And so your turn 6, 7, and 8 can already be planned because you may get those cards back in your ink from your inkwell.
Yeah,
And so your
yeah,
inkwell can be like a holding place for cards that you want to play later in the game.
yeah. Or I mean, I've seen people talk about ramping up to something like Mufasa and
Right.
then playing Ink Geyser. I mean, because Sapphire loves to ramp. So if you ramp up early and fast, by about the time they're getting to 5, 6 ink, you've got Mufasa down, play Ink Geyser, and it's off to the races.
Right, because then the Mufasa allows you to use that limited ink, the 3 or 4 ink that you now have after you play it. Um, Mufasa allows you to use it twice.
Yeah.
Now you're playing twice as much ink as your opponent every time. And now they're limited to 3 or 4 also to start off with until they can get that ink back into their inkwell. And then you just play it again.
Boom. Yes. I'm excited to test this out. One thing that you're gonna notice as we go through our reviews here, there is a lot of this color that we're gonna see. Sapphire did very well this set.
Sapphire did do very well. Don't know why, but they did.
You know what though? For somebody that's been playing Sapphire since set one, we had our fair share of crappy sets. And I know like Ruby Sapphire's been good the last couple sets, but it's mostly been Ruby was the main piece, and then Sapphire was kind of there with their dimes and their Tamatoas. Speaking of which,
Here
that
we go.
brings us to our next card. But I mean, Sapphire's finally getting its time to be the main ink in the ink pairings.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's been the number one deck, in the last couple of sets, and they're now getting even more ammunition, like
Yeah.
Tamatoa Happy as a Clam. It's a legendary. It's a 6 cost inkable, 4 or 5 stats with 2 lore and 2 abilities, as a lot of legendaries do. The coolest collection. When you play this character, return up to 2 item cards from your discard to your hand. And then I'm beautiful, baby. Whenever this character quests, you may play an item for free. This is, oh, and the artist on this Enchanted is Beatrice Blue, who was one of the 2 artists that they used. If you read the article on the website, this was one of the 2 artists that did this. She did this card initially, and then they used it as the template along with one of the other cards,
Hmm.
one of their artists going forward. And they gave this card and another card to all the other artists for Enchanted and said, this is the style we're looking for.
That's cool. I like it. Like I said, I really like the Enchanted this set.
Yep. So this card is very good. Being able to return 2 items from your discard. Now remember, you had to discard one with your bell to get it out on turn 1. So if you're ramping this coming out on turn 4 or 5 and getting those items back, if you discarded one with your bell and you discarded one with your Hiram, you get both of them back.
It's
And then
so
you can
good.
and then you can play them for free whenever he quests.
And it's not just, your popsicle. Like you
No,
can legit play Lucky
play the
Dime.
dime, play the
Yeah.
lucky dime for free. That's where it's that a lot of people had actually started taking lucky dime out of the Ruby Sapphire sets, the decks, but there's no way that the dime's not going back in with this card.
So do you think you're gonna run both Tamatoas, or are you gonna do a split? Are you gonna do one or the other?
That's really hard to say. I think that a lot of people will probably run both until they figure out if this one's good enough on its own.
That's fair.
And the art on the normal one is also very good. So, man, can't believe they got such a good card, Sapphire. It's crazy.
It really is. All right, so we are going to my next one here. Maybe not super busted like some of these other ones, but this is Lady, another dual ink card on Amber Emerald. 5 cost uninkable, 4 strength, 4 willpower, shift 3. But her ability says something wonderful. When you play this character, you may return up to 2 character cards with cost 2 or less each from your discard to your hand. And I mean, this 4/4 stat line puts her out of range from Medusa and Brawl, unless they have Coil. But what I like about this card is this is clearly designed for an aggro deck. And one thing about aggro decks is they like to run out of gas pretty fast. Like you've either got it or you're either gonna win really fast or you're gonna lose really fast because you just run out of cards. And having this card come down on potentially turn 3. Wait, do we have a little lady
Yeah,
to
we do.
shift onto?
Yeah.
Okay. Potentially on turn 3, but even as late as turn 5, and to put 2 cards back into your hand, that's a lot of value.
Yeah. So since this is an on playability, I actually don't think that this is going to get shifted very often because you want to make sure you take full advantage of it. And on turn 3, you're not going to have very many cards you
Yeah.
want back. that are 2 cost or less. You want to get back your piglets and your Flynns or whatever else you're playing at the 2 cost level that are going to earn you, the 2 or 3 lore.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And shout out to Rules of Villainy. Rest in peace. Our hopes for getting a Jock card this set.
That's the closest you're going to get is Jock way in the background of this card.
He's on Arcasius Island. He's vacationing. He's not
He,
taking part in the action
yeah,
here.
yeah. He was like, you know what? I don't want to be front and center. Let's everyone else take the limelight, the spotlight this time.
He's an old dog after all. All
Yeah,
right, all right.
this one's going to be a really good in an aggro deck. Whether it's a meta, like top tier meta, I'm not sure, but I think that this one can be a very deceptive deck, just like Clara did in Vegas with a lemon lime aggro deck in there and got up to like top 8 or top 16. I can't remember, but this can do very well.
Yeah, I think that this ability is gonna enable aggro deck archetypes more. Okay, so the next one is one of yours, and is it the Dual Ink hero?
Yes.
Okay.
So this one is also the one that is an enchanted, and they don't have it in here yet, but it is
Oh.
also the set champ card. So upcoming set champs, there will be the enchanted version of this alternate art and the regular non-foil promo version. But let's talk about it. It's a 7 cost inkable dual ink emerald sapphire 4/6 stats with 3 lore and can shift on 5. And the ability, you can be way more. Your Floodborn characters that have a card under them gain evasive and ward. And this seems to me to be very powerful.
So good.
The only drawback is the drawback in general with Floodborns is that you, of course, are having 2 characters in one spot where you are covering a character, so you don't have as much board presence. But that's always been the problem with Floodborns, and we've still made it work going, so far, where Floodborns, of course, have a lot of value. And this is the kind of thing that you can take advantage of with things like the Ink Geyser, where you can put out a bunch of really good characters, and then you can Ink Geyser down, and then you can start shifting your characters onto your other characters with less ink and get out a bunch of these. And then this hero comes down and protects them all with ward and evasive.
Yeah. At that point, pretty much, it's be prepared or bust.
Yeah. And even things, other removal like the big Sisu, you can't target it to get to the coil. The coil can't target these because they have ward.
Yeah.
So there is no strength reduction going. You're going to have to play things that are area damage, like grab your sword or be prepared or lost in the woods to get the strength reduction down or Kita. There's ways to do it, but they're so specific, and some of them aren't even getting played very much these days. So this is why things like this are going to reshape the meta, because the threat of them in specific color decks are going to make people need to play answers.
So his ability applies to himself, right? Because he
Yeah.
will have a card underneath of him if you shift him.
If you shift him, he's a
Yeah.
Floodborn character. And you can even shift him onto the new version. I think there's a new one of him at 3 cost that when you shift onto it, you get to draw a card.
This guy? Yeah.
Yeah, the Emerald Hero Hamada Future Champion. So you get to draw a card as well, which is always a good thing.
Oh,
I just
man.
feel like this is just a very good ability, a very specific ability that's going to shape the Emerald Sapphire decks going forward, just like some of the other cards. We actually have quite a few of those that we're talking about and already have. So
Yeah.
if you don't know why is Emerald Sapphire getting so much love? Because Arcasia, the Illumineer that the island is named after and who lives there, their colors that they are proficient in are Emerald and Sapphire. So they gave a lot of powerful cards to those colors because they're on like Arcasia's island. I'm pretty sure that's why they gave those colors the little extra oomph for this set.
That makes sense.
I am surprised we didn't get an Arcasia card, and the argument for No Arcasia is that it's an Lumineer, not a Glimmer.
Yeah.
But there we have cards already that are not Glimmers. Now, so far, it's only been items and things. With like the Hidden Inkcaster is an actual item.
Yeah, but I mean, where Arcasia is an Illumineer, like we don't have Martin or
Right.
Venturo or
We'll see if
anybody
we get
like
them
that.
someday.
It's possible.
All right, what do you got here?
All right, so I chose this one. I didn't see the potential in it at first. Somebody on Twitter, Cactus, pointed this out to me. I think it's just because reveal season came so fast. It was hard to digest everything.
Yeah.
This is a card called Restoring Atlantis. It's in steel. It's 5 cost, uninkable, but its ability says your characters cannot be challenged until the start of your next turn. And I, boy, how many times are you like, I have game on board, but they have freaking Maui Shark or Maui Rush that they can come down
Yeah.
and get rid of your characters. But this card says, nope, can't do that.
This is an amazing, like you said, if you have the board state to win on turn 5 or 6 before they can be prepared, this is an amazing play to get yourself into the winning position to win the game, just to stop everything except for things like brawl and other actions. So in like the diggy diggy hole deck where you're just going to be racing anyway, having this come down as a final like nail in the coffin is going to be amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
And when you mentioned that they all the cards came out in a flood, if I don't know if you realize this, but we had like 4 or 6 cards the last time we recorded, and now we have all of them.
All within the space of 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. It was actually 8 days from the start of the major flood of reveals until the final card.
Jeez. Yeah. My little fingers were getting sore on Twitter there.
Right?
All right, let's see if this is on in Dreamborn yet. Oh yeah, here he is.
All right. This is another Emerald Sapphire, amazing card with the first time ability of Universal Shift. This is the French version. That's the only good version that was out there. Um, but the Universal Shift. So this is a Baymax robot, giant robot. It's a 6 cost uninkable 5/5 with 2 lore. It shifts on 4 on Universal Shift, and its ability is you can shift this onto any character. So this is the reverse morph. Morph, you can shift any character onto it. This one can go onto any character. So,
Bloodborne Flounder.
right? This is essentially the Floodborne Flounder. You'll notice that there's a little chair in the picture there, and if you want, you can go ahead and put your little flounder right there in the center.
Oh,
And
I did. I photoshopped Flounder into there and put it on Twitter.
of course, this is again another powerful card, just like that hero that we just showed. Now this and your hero both have ward and evasive when they're both on the board, and they're both good stats, multiple lore. I mean, how are you not going to try and make a deck with these just to see if it works?
Well, you didn't even mention its ability.
The ability is oh, if there's any damage, you can heal it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you need to take out a threat of your opponents, you shift this, you take it out, shift Baymax onto it, all that damage is gone.
That's fun. Hey, and if you have Grandpappy out, someone needs to make Grandpappy happen, right?
It's got to happen eventually.
Someday. And you get lore for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited. Like, oh my gosh. There's so many different deck types that I want to try out this set.
I know. The way that it's interesting that there's so many things in this deck that just enable so many different lines of play and different deck building options. Obviously, Ruby Sapphire is just going to continue on, but even Ruby Sapphire, I think, is going to look a little different for how they set it up.
Yeah.
But it's
I
just
don't,
going to continue being a tier 1 deck.
I don't think Ruby Amethyst is going to change much.
No. And it's actually, I think a lot of people are saying that Ruby Amethyst is going to get even worse against the
Oh,
current meta.
darn. Anyway, our next card is Pongo, Dear Old Dad. I'm just choosing all of the dual ink cards. This is
Right.
on Amber Sapphire, which I would love to see this work. 5 strength, 5 willpower, 6 cost, uninkable with the ability Found You, you little rascal. What I love about this card is it changes how we can play Lorcana. At the start of your turn, look at the cards in your inkwell. You may play a puppy character from there for free. So here we have another example of inkwell manipulation. And it goes back to what you're talking about with the ink guider. You can ink, how many times have you played a puppy deck and you're like, I'm just gonna put this puppy in the ink. I'm gonna put like 2 cost, I'm gonna put it in the inkwell. Play Pongo at the start of your turn, you get a look in your inkwell and take that puppy out and play it for free. Like
Right.
it's so good.
And so let's combo this with my other one, which is the puppy meta, I call it. If you hit the back and when you search, just search puppy, and you'll see what they built in this new set. So we of course have all the puppies we had before, but in this new set we have this. I think it's the pepper.
Yeah.
3 cost, 2/2 with 1 lore, but the ability whenever one of your puppy characters is banished, you may put that card into your inkwell face down and exerted.
Hmm.
And if you have the Pongo out, it's coming right back.
Yep.
So you basically have this unending zombie army of puppies.
For reals. Yeah.
Right? And then, of course, Lucky lets you pull those puppies out. So, in combination with the existing Pongos and Perditas and Dalmatian puppies, the puppy deck is looking actually quite powerful, which is really weird and fun to say.
Again, this is another deck type that I want to try out.
And it's something that they did where we talk about they gave a lot of abilities in a lot of different decks, and what they didn't do is they didn't continue giving certain deck archetypes and colors more ammunition. So we didn't really get a whole lot of ammunition for the Sapphire Amber Princess deck.
Yeah.
We didn't get any new um, discard mechanics. We got the Yzma, but that's only in uh, Emerald Amethyst, not
Yeah.
Steel. So they didn't enable the Emerald Steel discard deck, which may make that even less popular. The Lemon Lime version of the discard deck, nothing really was given to that, so that got less popular. Instead, they went with Emerald being the damage characters thing, where like you have to have a lot of damage out there to do whatever the ability is, which no one's really using. So it's like they enabled a deck archetype that someone's going to have to figure out, or else it's just going to never be played.
Our good friend Jason Lorcana Thanos, he's all about that ping damage deck life. So that's what he took to Vegas. So I bet he's happy.
Yeah, I mean, it can work. Where it works the best is multiplayer, but it
Yeah.
can't. Let's go ahead and do another one of mine, the Snow White, because I had more than you. And this one I only want to mention because I don't think it's playable in the current constructed meta.
This one here? Yeah, obviously.
This 4 cost inkable Snow White, fairest in the land, 2/2 with 2 lore, and the ability Hidden Away. This character can't be challenged. And in this card, for all of you who will be doing sealed and draft events coming up when the set comes out, get this card. Because if you look at the other cards, there is very little direct damage removal. And if you can't challenge this, it's going to be very difficult to remove it, and this can win you games.
Yeah. 2 lore can't be
Two,
challenged. That's pretty
mm-hmm.
darn good.
There's like 10 or 15 cards that can banish a character or can deal damage, but they're always conditional. Like the King Candy is you can banish any character, opposing character, but one of your racers has to be banished first.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways that this can go away, but you need to have those cards, and a lot of those are like super rares and higher, or rares and higher, and so it's going to be more difficult to have those in a deck in a limited or a draft kind of thing. So yeah, this is an uncommon. Hope you get it when you're playing.
What's going on with these animals here?
This is Arcasia's Island. Some of this is the robot animals that are used for all of the testing and the traps and
Hmm.
the things.
Says a true heart can thwart many an evil scheme. So I wonder if these robot ones were originally not good.
Well, I mean, since they're used for testing Illumineers, maybe she's like, you know what? No, you guys just sit and enjoy the day. But you can't challenge me, so let's all just enjoy the afternoon here in the sunlight.
All right, let's do another one of yours. We are going to do giant cobra.
And this is something we haven't talked a lot about, and that's uh, the illusions, which we did not get very many. We only got like 4 or 5 illusions, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's because we're going to get so many of them in the next set because it's the Reign of
Yeah.
Jafar.
I think you're right.
He's going to create so many illusions, but the illusions all have the ability vanish. When an opponent chooses this character for an action, banish them. So it has to be an action that specifically chooses the character, not like grab your sword. Grab your sword will not do anything except deal the 2 damage to this character. And this Cobra here, the Ghostly Serpent, 3 cost inkable 4/4 with 1 lore, has the ability Mysterious Advantage. When you play this character, you may choose and discard a card to gain 2 lore.
It's so
And
good.
this is so good, and the stats are so good for this for a 3 drop. I mean, we've seen other overstated characters like Mim Fox, uh, and they always have some kind of drawback. Which Mim Fox drawback is you have to bounce something, and they're a 4/3. So this drawback, of course, is that it's got that vanish where just any action can take it out. But still, being able to this is just yet another amethyst late game bomb that can win you the game with its 2 lore ability.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is this is a card that makes you make a choice. Like if you have an action, you have to decide, do I want to use the action to vanish this card or do I want to use it, to further my game plan or to deal with another character that they have.
Right. Like
So, I
if
mean,
you
yeah,
have
if you have something like mosquito bite, sure, you can use that on giant cobra. But if you have something like dragonfire, which I don't know why you're playing, but if you are, you're like, do I really want to use dragonfire on giant cobra or do I want to save it for something else?
right. Yes. And so all of these illusions have really good stats. So whether or not they get played, we'll see. But if I'm playing Amethyst Steel, I'm pretty sure I'm putting at least a few of these in my deck.
Yeah.
It's too good. It's
Yeah.
it's too good of a game. I mean, you can replace your what is it, the white rose, which is a 3 cost 3/3 that earns you a lore on play.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you replace it with a better statted character that can earn you 2 lore?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no reason not to. You're right. Okay. All right. Wow, I'm just choosing all the enchanted cards. So
Hey,
this is a amethyst action, show me more. 2 cost uninkable, but it has the ability each player draws 3 cards. And I know you're like, why would I want my opponent to draw 3 cards? But again, this is another card that's going to enable the aggro build. Because if you are going low and you're going fast, you don't care how many cards your opponent has in their hands. You are more worried about like putting more bodies on your board. And this card lets you draw 3 cards, easy peasy, to further develop your board state. So I chose this card because I think it's going to really enable that aggro build.
yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't play something like this if you're going full aggro because it, like you said, it refills your hand. Um, and it gives it to you all in one turn. Where if you're playing the Amethyst Chromacon, of course, that's going to give you 1 per turn, which is also very good. But why not both?
That's true. Porque no los dos?
But if you have a bunch of 1 and 2 cost, 2 lore, 2 and 3 lore earning characters in your deck, why wouldn't you want more of them in your hand at one time?
Yeah, totally. And this art is beautiful on here.
Right? So amazing. I love it. Okay, here we go. The immortal bird returns. Hey, expanded consciousness, a 5 cost inkable, 1/5 with 2 lore, Floodborn on shift 3 with resist 1, and the ability clear your mind. When you play this character, put all cards from your hand into your inkwell, face down and exerted.
How is this gonna? I'm curious to see how you're gonna say that this is gonna shape the meta.
Someone's gonna make this work. Someone is. Because if you have the ability to draw, so this is on turn 3, right? You're not going to play it on turn 3. You're going to play it maybe on turn 5. You don't need to shift this. If you have, if you've ramped a little bit, you may be playing it on turn 4, but with 5 ink. If you have a higher amount, you don't quest. You play this, you put everything into your inkwell, you quest with your Hiram, and you get 2 cards back immediately. And you're ready to go for the next turn with, I don't know, 10 ink, 11 ink on turn 4, 5. I think you're doing pretty good.
All
Now,
right.
actually works, I don't know. I just wanted to have this card as a someone figure it out, because I think this card is going to be insane if someone can figure out a way to make it work, or just to have the fun of, you know what? I know if you're playing a whole new world, I know that there's 4 whole new worlds in my deck, and I don't have them in my hand, and I didn't get them yet. I just ink this, and I get my Hiram going, my Hiram engine going, and I draw 2 cards, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get a whole new world quickly, reset my hand, and now I have again 10 or 11 ink, and I have a whole new hand.
Yep, that's what I was waiting for, to hear you talk about a whole new world. It's
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. It'll happen, just not very consistently.
yeah, it's a high roll deck. It's like, it's that deck where you're like, well, let's see if it works. But I just wanted to get Hey in here. Look,
Yeah.
he has a monocle.
But I mean, you can't convince me. It says expanded consciousness. You can't convince me that he has a single thought going through his brain in this picture.
Well, I mean, you can expand from 0 to like 0.1, right?
I mean, I guess technically that's an expansion.
We have
Okay.
no Bagheera.
That is, yeah, okay.
Bagheera's not in Dreamborn yet, but let's talk about it anyway. Bagheera is like what, only the 3rd good steel legendary
Yeah.
behind Robin Hood and Sad Beast. And it's a 5-cost inkable character. We finally have Bagheera from Jungle Book. He's a 4/3 with 2 lore. He has bodyguard, and the ability, when this character is banished, deal 2 damage to all opposing characters. So he's basically grab your sword on a body,
Yeah.
and whatever runs into him is probably going to get banished or get close to it, and then it's going to get dealt 2 more damage that almost guaranteed will finish it off. And then all of the other characters now have damage on them. Some of them may go away, but anything else that they want to run into of yours, it's likely going to be 1-for-1 trades. And so this is a very good bodyguard. There are a lot of good bodyguards in Steel now with this and the Pluto and the Chienpo. So there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is another card that makes you think. Do you really want to take out that bodyguard and have 2 damage dealt to all yours? Or can you afford to ignore it? Or can you afford to deal with it some other way? But although, is it on banishment?
It's just on banish. It's not banished in the
Jeez.
challenge. So
Okay,
just
yep. That's a good card.
but it's only during an opponent's turn, of course.
Yeah. Right, because why would you want to run it into your opponent's card? Well, I don't know. I guess there's a situation.
Yeah. But that's
All
it.
right.
The
Did you
medicine.
want to hit your honorable mentions or nah?
You know what? I think let's just talk about the Mushu.
I was gonna say we have to at least talk about Mushu.
We finally get Mushu.
Whoop whoop. All right.
Majestic Draw. You read this one.
Yep, 5 cost inkable. Honestly, I was gonna add this one to my list, but I was like, no, I gotta leave some good stuff for James. So this is one that I thought you would pick. So 5 cost inkable. It's Ruby Steel. So interesting to see this combination: 4 strength, 4 willpower, 2 abilities, intimidating and awe-inspiring. Whenever one of your characters challenges they gain resist +2 during that challenge. And then the second one, Guardians of Lost Souls. Guardian of Lost Souls. During your turn, whenever one of your characters banishes another character in a challenge, gain 2 lore. And he had one lore himself, but this card is pretty dang good. Like both of these abilities are good. If you want to send your character into a challenge, they gain resist +2. And then if they banish in a challenge, this is like Aladdin from set one, but
Yeah.
all of your characters.
Yeah. And that's what Ruby Steel wants to do is challenge. It's the challenge matters deck.
Yeah.
And it's just going to enable so much more value out of those challenges. I do want to point out the artist is Tom Bancroft, who was the character designer for Mushu on the Mulan movie.
Oh, cool.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Ruby still definitely got some tools this set, and I would love to see it. I'd love to see it go. The one drawback that people mention is card draw, but I think, weight set or is it Imperial Proclamation? There's Dinner Bell. Dinner Bell. Like there are
Honestly,
ways that you can draw cards.
I think that maybe at some point someone just needs to try a whole new world in the Ruby Steel deck.
That's true.
Play out all your characters for challenging and whatnot. Build the board, whole new world, and see what happens. I think I
We
think
should
someone
make it
needs to figure that
happen.
out. Yeah. So the other thing about this is that Ruby Steel, I think, it can become it's MacDonald with an A. I think that Ruby Steel can become at least a tier 2 deck, if not a tier 1 deck.
Yeah, I agree.
So this honorable mention is for the art, and I would like to congratulate Disney Lorcana for um, letting the artists expand the
Let them
style.
cook.
Yeah, expanding the style of the storybook. What was it? The storybook something? I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
Now. But they're letting the artists be a little freer with their styles, and you can see it most easily with these 3 cards that Ian McDonald did, which are amazing. The Mother Gothel, the Elsa, and the Anna are just they look like they're things you would see at the Disney Gallery in Disneyland. The canvas is up on the wall,
Yeah.
and they're just amazing. And I can't wait to get. I'm hoping that at least one of these gets turned into sleeves or deck box or playmat or something. That Mother Gothel and Rapunzel art in particular, I think, is stellar. Not that the other 2 are not, but I think that one just goes like it's just a whole level above.
Well, and I think all 3 of these are cards that when they were revealed, got people talking. I mean, I share every card on my Twitter when they're revealed, and all 3 of these cards got, you know, at least 100 likes, which is a lot for
Yeah.
me. I mean, 200 is a lot, but each of these got at least 100.
And that's I just wanted to point these out just for the fact that it seems that they are letting the art direction they're letting loose with the rigid confines of the art direction, and I think the art is somehow continuing to get better every set, even though every time we see the art every set we're like, this is amazing, and then the
So
set,
true.
this is amazing, and then
Honey Wizard, it's the best art ever.
that was set 2, and I mean, honestly, have they topped Honey Wizard? It's hard to say. This stuff definitely is alongside Honey Wizard for me.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. I just
Yep.
wanted to
Yep.
do that. Yeah, the art in this set's so good.
All right. So we do have a couple of listener questions.
All right.
So the first one is from Big Lou 154. And this was an interesting question. Do you have a blind spot in regard to your consumption of Disney media? For example, I have not seen many of the Disney live action movies pre-90s outside of Mary Poppins and Peach Dragons, whereas I've seen all animated classics and most of the TV shows. So, is there a specific part of Disney content that you are lacking in knowledge, James?
Yes. I'm old. So uh I have seen a vast amount of the live action Disney movies up until Disney Channel became a thing on cable. And I did not see most of that because I was too old for it, which means I also haven't seen much of Disney afternoon stuff. And for a certain time period, I wasn't seeing very many movies. So a lot of the post Renaissance movies in the early 2000s, I have not seen a lot of those. I'm almost there. We're actually watching Beauty and the Beast tonight on our rewatch through all of the movies. So we're getting closer to ones I haven't seen, like what is it, Meet the Robinsons
Hmm.
and Home on the Range and all
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur. So I will be watching those sometimes in the next few months. Finally, um, but yeah, those that's my main thing is a few of the movies and basically anything that was geared more towards kids from the 90s and on.
Well, I would have to say, and this was most explicitly made known to me when they released The Phantom Blot.
Yeah,
Like, I really thought my first thought was Epic Mickey until everybody was like, oh, it's from DuckTales. And I did watch the original DuckTales, which he made an appearance in there, but this specific reference was from the new DuckTales, which I haven't watched. But between that and the other one that I see people talk about all the time is Kingdom Hearts. I know nothing about Kingdom Hearts
yeah, I've
besides
seen
what people
pictures.
post. Yeah, I mean, people are very passionate about it, and they tell me, "Oh, you need to play it," but it's just it doesn't tickle my fancy. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I know there are a lot of people who love it. I'm not trying to put it down at all, but it's not my wheelhouse right now.
Right. Yeah. And I don't play very many video games, so why would I pick that one up? I mean, if I'm going to pick anything up, it will be something like that, but I don't pick video games up.
And then there are the ones like everybody I see a lot of people talk about, oh, Lion King 2. A lot of the sequels, like the
Right.
direct to DVD sequels, like this Thunderbolt dog was from the sequel to 101 Dalmatians. I mean I'm pretty sure I saw 102 Dalmatians, but I don't remember Thunderbolt at all.
I vaguely recall it. Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be my blind spot. The video games like Kingdom Hearts and the direct to TV sequels.
Yep. I
All
agree.
right, and our last question is from the mayor of the Rules of Villainy, and he simply asks, "Where is Jock?" And
We
we
covered
we
that.
we talked about this a little bit. Jock was there, but he decided to sit this one out. He's been a good boy. He's getting up there in years, so he's got a little arthritis going on. He hasn't quite got much fight in him. Can't really do the trials, so he's just there for vacation.
Right. He's got a lounger. He's got a Mai Tai. He's just sitting there enjoying the island life.
Yeah, he's earned it. He's earned it. So, all right. Anything else we need to talk about, James?
Um, Let me see if there was anything else that I was trying to remember from
Any news?
any news drops. Uh oh, did we have the picture of the enchanted set champ, the hero enchanted and set champ? I think you might have posted it on your Twitter, right?
I did post it on my Twitter. Let me find that up before I share my screen since it's not. Oh, wait. Okay. Do. Why don't you tell us about this?
So the hero was revealed. I think Screen Rant got the exclusive reveal because they actually have a picture of all
Oh,
three
yeah, you're
cards.
right. Okay.
So what is revealed is the hero enchanted, which of course is in the regular set, and the other one is the hero set champ. Now, what caused a lot of confusion is if you'll notice on the set champ version, there is the little gyro symbol next to the enchanted symbol, not the little two triangle-ish things that normally indicated a promo. And everyone was like, "Is this a DLC?" thing because that has only appeared previously on DLCs. But in the official Discord, Rochelle has confirmed that the gyro is now the organized play logo, which means it can appear on anything that is organized play, not specifically just challenges. And you'll also notice that the card number is 24B/P2. And that means 24A is going to be the regular version of the actually it's not even A, it just says it's 24. Which is interesting that they didn't make it A. But 24/P2 is the regular version, and now it has the alternate art, but it just has the regular border, the black border card. Go ahead and check out Screen Rant if you want to see all three versions of the card. We've seen them all now, and it's interesting that the organized play logo has changed to be this this gyro that we normally had only seen on challenge cards. Now, the way you're going to be able to discern between regular organized play promos and challenge promos is that numbering system. The challenges will have C for their number, so it'll be like C1 or C2 after the card number, and
Okay.
the P will be for promos. So here's he's showing on the screen now the participation. Now this one, the one that has the borders, will be participation. There's going to be 40 of them sent to each organized play store holding a set champ, and it is, I think they're going to give instructions on this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be up to the store how they actually get distributed. Some stores may say, you know, the first 40 people who sign up and pay will get it. Others will be on the day of, they'll just hand them out until they run out if there's more than 40 people for who shows up, or they may do it for top 40 if there's more than 40 people. If there's less than 40, like if you're at a place that only has 20, I guess everybody gets 2. Who knows? But these are the participation promo, and then the other one is the top 8 promo.
Yeah. And I will issue an apology right here because, like you said, there's a lot of confusion about these promos, and if it was the set championship promo or a DLC promo. And I had people tell me, oh, it's this. And then I'd update my post on Twitter and they're like, no, it's that. And then I'd update my post on Twitter and then they'd say, no, it's this. So I eventually just deleted. I was like, okay, I'm just going to
I'll wait
say,
until we have actual information.
yeah. So I do apologize if I spread misinformation. I didn't do it intentionally.
But the problem was is that the picture was revealed accidentally. It was attached to the post about the enchanted reveals at like 9 a.m. in the morning in Pacific time. And it should have been attached to the article about from Screen Rant instead, which was hours later. So that's what caused the confusion for a little bit, was seeing them without context.
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks, James.
Yep.
All right. Well, anything else we need to talk about?
I think that was it.
All right, all right. Well, if you enjoyed what you listened to, you can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe to the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere online at Dan Regal. And thank you all again for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time.